Most people believe that creating a budget automatically means their financial life is under control and their future wealth is steadily improving. Yet many disciplined budgeters still feel confused when their savings grow slowly and their financial progress seems strangely smaller than expected. They track their spending, they follow monthly limits, and they genuinely believe they are managing money responsibly. But something subtle happens inside many budgets that quietly drains wealth without people realizing it for years. The surprising truth is that the problem is often not income, not discipline, and not even spending. Instead, the real issue is that certain budgeting habits slowly reshape how money flows through a person's life without them noticing the long-term consequences. And once these hidden budget mistakes repeat month after month, they quietly determine whether someone builds wealth or simply stays financially stable forever. Budgeting is usually introduced as the foundation of financial responsibility, which is why many people believe that simply having a budget automatically guarantees financial progress. At first glance, this belief appears reasonable because budgeting creates structure, visibility, and a sense of control over everyday spending decisions. However, the structure of a budget can also hide certain patterns that slowly prevent wealth from growing as efficiently as people expect. Many budgets are designed only to control spending during the current month rather than to strengthen long-term financial momentum. Because of this, a person can follow their budget perfectly while still making financial decisions that quietly slow down wealth building. The most interesting part is that these mistakes rarely feel like mistakes while they are happening. They feel normal, responsible, and even disciplined, which is exactly why they are so difficult to notice. Consider someone named David, a young professional working a stable job and earning a comfortable monthly salary. David takes personal finance seriously and proudly maintains a detailed budget that organizes every category of spending in his life. His rent is clearly planned, groceries have a specific limit, transportation is controlled, and even entertainment spending has its own category. At the beginning of every month, David reviews his numbers carefully and feels confident that his finances are under control. From the outside, everything looks responsible and organized, and most people would say David is doing exactly what financial experts recommend. Yet after several years, David notices something strange that begins to quietly bother him. Despite budgeting consistently and avoiding reckless spending, his savings have not grown as much as he expected. He is not in debt, but he also does not feel closer to financial freedom. And that quiet frustration usually points to something deeper happening beneath the surface of the budget itself. One of the first hidden budgeting mistakes appears when people design their budget mainly around controlling expenses instead of directing money toward long-term wealth. This approach seems responsible because it encourages discipline and reduces unnecessary spending decisions during everyday life. However, when a budget focuses primarily on limiting spending categories, it often forgets to aggressively prioritize saving and investing for the future. In practice, this means that savings become whatever remains after monthly expenses instead of becoming the first financial priority. Many people unknowingly follow this pattern for years while believing their budgeting system is working exactly as intended. But this subtle design choice quietly leads to the deeper mistakes that slowly reshape financial outcomes. Mistake 1: Lifestyle inflation disguised as budgeting. When income increases, many people simply expand their budgeting categories instead of strengthening their long-term financial position. For example, someone who receives a salary increase might slightly raise their dining budget, upgrade subscriptions, or justify more comfortable lifestyle choices. Because these upgrades remain within the budget, the behavior still feels financially responsible and controlled. However, over several years, these small adjustments gradually raise the baseline cost of living. As a result, higher income stops translating into meaningful wealth growth. Mistake 2: Invisible recurring expenses. Another quiet budgeting mistake happens when recurring payments slowly multiply inside a person's monthly spending categories. Streaming subscriptions, digital tools, membership services, delivery fees, and convenience costs gradually accumulate without attracting much attention. Each individual expense feels small and harmless, which makes it easy to ignore its long-term impact. But when dozens of these expenses repeat every month for years, they quietly redirect large amounts of money away from savings and investments. The danger is not the size of any single expense, but the invisible consistency of all of them combined. Mistake 3: Budgeting only for the present month. Many people design budgets that focus entirely on surviving the current month rather than planning several years into the future. This approach creates stability in the short term but often prevents people from thinking strategically about long-term wealth building. When a budget only asks how money will be spent this month, it rarely asks how money should be positioned for future growth. This means investment contributions remain small, irregular, or dependent on leftover money. Over time, the absence of long-term planning quietly slows the compounding process that builds real wealth. Mistake 4. Treating savings as a flexible category. In many budgets, savings appear as just another adjustable category that can shrink whenever expenses become inconvenient. During months when unexpected costs appear, savings are often the first category people reduce or postpone. This behavior feels harmless in the moment because it solves immediate financial pressure. However, repeated interruptions to saving and investing dramatically reduce long-term financial growth. Consistency, not intensity, is what allows wealth to compound over time. Mistake 5. Avoiding deep financial awareness. The final budgeting mistake occurs when people track categories but never deeply analyze how their financial behavior evolves over time. They know roughly where money goes each month, yet they rarely step back to examine patterns across entire years. Without this deeper awareness, spending habits slowly drift upward without triggering immediate concern. The result is a budget that feels organized but quietly loses its power to shape long-term financial outcomes. The deeper reason these budgeting mistakes happen is surprisingly simple and deeply connected to human psychology. Human beings naturally adapt to their current financial environment and quickly normalize whatever lifestyle becomes familiar. When income increases or new spending patterns appear, the brain begins treating those changes as the new normal baseline. Because of this adaptation process, people rarely feel like their spending has significantly increased. From their perspective, life simply feels stable and comfortable. This psychological pattern explains why disciplined people can still experience slow financial progress even while maintaining careful budgets. The issue is rarely effort or intelligence. The issue is unconscious financial behavior slowly shaping long-term outcomes. A simple framework can completely change how budgeting influences long-term wealth building. Instead of following the traditional pattern of earn, spend, save, a more powerful system follows a different order. Earn, plan, invest, spend. In this structure, wealth building happens before lifestyle spending decisions are made. Another helpful rule is extremely simple but surprisingly powerful when applied consistently. Systems create wealth faster than motivation. When saving and investing become automatic parts of the financial system, wealth begins growing quietly in the background. Once someone recognizes these hidden budgeting mistakes, their entire relationship with money begins to change gradually. Budgeting stops being only about controlling spending and starts becoming a tool for designing long-term financial outcomes. Instead of asking how much money can be spent this month, the focus slowly shifts toward how money can quietly grow over the next decade. That subtle change in perspective transforms budgeting from a defensive habit into a powerful wealth-building strategy. Over time, the same income, the same discipline, and the same lifestyle can produce completely different financial results. The difference usually begins with awareness. If this explanation helped you see budgeting from a different perspective, comment awareness below because that single shift often changes how people manage money for the rest of their lives. And if you enjoy calm financial storytelling that explains the hidden mistakes shaping people's financial lives, consider liking the video and subscribing for more thoughtful breakdowns like this.